All right, good morning, everyone. Right, so today we are starting off with a very, not say early morning, but I'm glad a lot of you are tuning in right now at this hour. So today, as all of you have known, we are going through a very interesting phase where currently right now our schools are about to open. Ever since the start of Education Summit, we have been talking a lot about incorporating online learning, and thus, behold, we are back into school even before we know it, right? So welcome in, everyone. So today is going to be a very, very interesting session. So come right in. Abma Khan, good morning. I'm glad I made it to this session. Abma, are you one of Prof's student? Do let us know as well, right? Come right in, come right in. We're about to start for the Education Summit EduChat series, right? So first of all, again, I would like to thank everyone for coming in, and especially those who have joined us during the past Education Summit 2020. It was a very interesting marathon ride where we go through 22 speakers, right? And just to let everyone out there know that the Education Summit so far, we have close to about 3,300 participants and members in the entire Education Summit, spanning from educators and parents coming from over 40 different countries. So I was a bit surprised that many of the worldwide learners out there are actually joining in into this Education Summit, right? So, okay, Amma saying is that I'm his colleague, okay, from USM, I presume. Okay, so yeah, so speaking about the Education Summit, we are talking about worldwide learning, right? So the power of using technology, simple technologies such as the FB platform and YouTube platform enables us to reach out far beyond what we can possibly imagine into countries. Like, for example, Education Summit has been reaching out to people from Saudi Arabia, from Ghana, from India, right? Countries like Indonesia, Singapore. So it has started to slowly become sort of like a movement to get educators together, right? And to share about all about learning, right? On the Education Summit, right? So joining us today for our EduChat series for today, I'm guessing a lot of you out there are already aware of what's about to come. So just let me introduce our next speaker as a formality, right? So the next speaker that is coming in, he is a food professor of food technology at the School of Industrial Technology, USM, University of Science, Malaysia, and is currently the director of the Center for Development of Academic Excellence. Right, so he has been teaching at USM for over 25 years, since 1994. He was the recipient of the prestigious National Academic Award in 2008 for teaching from the Ministry of Higher Education. So he has been recognized as one of the top 50 educators in Asia Pacific by Terrapin Asia, has been awarded with Malaysia's Rising Star 2015 and highest research citation in agricultural science, many different awards, right? Malaysia Research Star Award and the world's most influential scientific minds, right? By Clarivet Analytics. So he's a very, and much more importantly, the topic for today, it's all about a digital classroom, right? Using technology on online learning. So he himself, he is a strong advocate of leveraging the internet as an alternative medium for learning and teaching. So he has developed and maintained a few teaching portals. Many, I presume. I was just listening to one of his video right this morning. So without further ado, I would like to bring out our guest speaker for today, Prof. Dr. Abdul Karim Alias. Welcome, Prof.
Thank you, Jay. Thank you. Good morning. It's a pleasure to be here.
Okay. Oh. Pleasure again for coming to join us on this platform. Yeah, so Mr. Abma Khan is from USM, right?
Yeah, he's my colleague.
Okay. So from today, so we're talking about all about technology and learning and teaching. So topic for today, it's all about the physical teacher in the digital classroom. So when I actually came out about this title, right, I'm feeling that it's very fitting for your entire life journey, Prof. Would you say that in a way that
In a
since
way,
I've been
yeah.
I've been seeing your work for the past even from YouTube from the past 10 to 12 years, you have been advocaatly adding in a lot of education contents, right? So more about this. So before that, for those watching that are maybe they are not familiar with Prof, probably Prof can make an introduction to them so that they may be able to understand you more from that.
Thank you, Jay. I thought you have done that. So thank you once again for inviting me, for having me in this EduChat series. And I think this is a great opportunity to share some of my thought from my perspective of how I see education is evolving in the context of the so-called the digital world and the digital era now. And what's more, with the COVID-19 episode, everything in terms of online learning become even more and more prominent and more important. So I've been teaching in USM now. It's actually in my 26 years, Jay. I have completed the 35 years, so coming into 26 years now, and in USM as a lecturer. I did my first degree in applied Bachelor of Applied Science actually, and graduated in 1986. So I'm actually the alumni of USM, and if I count the number of years as a student as well, so probably now about 30 years or so in USM, and it's been a very beautiful journey as an educator in USM, and I think I have a lot more to contribute in education, especially in the context of higher education. So I hope in today's session, I hope to inspire more young educators, especially young. I call them the young academics, to start their journey early, to find their footing in the academia, and be very clear of their purpose to be an academic in the education in the academia.
Right. So Prof, I guess during the education summit, we didn't get to really chat in depth on your background and your backstory and stuff. So here is the platform that we can really ask on any questions with Prof. And for those of you tuning in, please do add in any comments if you have any questions for Prof. It's an online, so if we put up the comment, right, Prof has to answer.
It's a chat session, so feel free to chat. Maybe while waiting for the questions here, a lot of people ask me, I'm my PhD, my degree, everything is in food technology, and my research is also on food in the area. But a lot of people also know me as a champion of online learning, teaching and learning. So some people they are confused actually whether my background is from education or from another background. So I told them, I'm very much a food technologist. My teaching, my research, everything. I don't have a single publication in the journal. Maybe one on the education. 99.9% is my publication is actually on my research area. But my involvement in teaching and learning and online learning especially is very much driven by my own passion. So that's the reason. And I believe, and I have mentioned this many times, anything that we do driven by passion, you can do, beyond the ordinary, because nobody push you or force you to do it. Come from your heart, from your own passion. So hopefully, and this is also something that I always say to the young academics, do what we love what we do, and do what we love, and we can do great things with it,
Right. So for me personally, I just wanted to find out, so Prof, you have been going through the entire journey for the past 26 years, right? So how did you get started? Where does the journey begin? So probably you can share with us where you came from, originated, which state are you from, and how did you actually get started in the journey?
Well, I basically, when I graduated in 1986, there was one of the worst period in terms of one of the worst recession in Malaysia. Not only Malaysia, it's actually the world. So at that time, I couldn't get a job within the first few months, but I didn't want to sit at home and being unemployed. So I took my first job. Actually, my first job was actually as a salesman. Jay. So it was like a few months working as a salesman, but there was a very, very good lesson because I get to learn one very valuable skill, which until now as an academic, I need to use this skill, which basically the communication skill. I learned pitching actually. I was trained to pitch, to do pitching. Basically, nowadays people call it elevator pitch, how to pitch, how to sell a set of encyclopedia cost 5,000 ringgit per set, 25 volumes. That was in 1986. Can you imagine that? At the time of a worst economic recession, and people are willing, how do you convince people to pay 5,000 ringgit for a set of encyclopedia? So you really need to be very convincing. Your pitching skill need to be, excellent in order to convince people to pay 5,000 ringgit. So that was something I learned from that job. Then I took up a temporary job in my line as a food technologist, and also I took up teaching. So more or less it started from that point. I started in a private school, teaching in the private school, and I knew from that time that I just I simply love teaching, love to be helping my students, because these students in the private school, they are quite many of them are struggling with the academic. So you really need to be very passionate and very passionate with the students, and give your best to help them to go through the exam, everything. So that was the starting point lah. I would say that, but I guess naturally I'm a teacher since because when I was in primary school, I start kind of teaching in a way, teaching my friends, because they find that I can explain to them better than the teacher can explain, to make them understand. In the primary school, in the secondary school, I remember my friend called me a chemistry wizard. It's in Form 4, Form 5, in the science stream. And I basically, my friend came to me to get me to explain them the chemistry, everything, because they find that I can explain the concept much better than the teacher did. So that was basically the kind of environment and my involvement. It started very much, and it kind of direct me into teaching or into education. I don't know whether that's a natural talent, but it was there right from the very beginning.
Right.
Just to relate one story, Jay. When I was in the primary school, my father taught Quran, Quran, to the young kids, to our neighbors, the neighbors' kids. My father was a fisherman, so he's not around much of the time. So when he's not around, I took over to teach the neighbors' kid. So what I found that when my father taught them, they progress very slow. But when I took over, they are so happy, and they can learn kind of faster and easier, and they advance actually much faster. So when my father took over, then he was surprised. He thought that the students or the kids jump the pages of the Quran. No, but I told him, no, they went through, properly. So, so that I knew then that, I had kind of the knack or the talent to help people to learn, students to learn.
Right,
Yeah.
right. I guess stemming from what you were saying about the journey of going through as a salesman, right? It has a lot to do about influencing and allowing people to understand your message in a very simple and clear way. So
I guess so.
I just want to find out, from Prof, right? When you are teaching someone, right? Let's say if you have a student in front of you, what would be your main focus on that point when you are teaching someone something that they have absolutely zero idea about? What would be your thought process on that?
Well, we want to make it as simple as possible. Just like Albert Einstein say, if you cannot explain it to your grandmother, you still don't understand the subject. Or if you cannot explain it simply, you still don't understand. So I think as a teacher, first you need to have the mastery of the subject. So the mastery, I think you have to get to that level of where you feel so comfortable that you can explain it simply, that even anyone that has zero knowledge of that particular subject or topic can understand it easily. And that's not easy to achieve that level, especially if you're a new teacher or a new lecturer, because you have sometimes you did your PhD or your training in different area. For example, teachers, they have been trained to become a science teachers, chemistry, mathematics teacher. But then when they go to the school, somehow the headmaster asks the teacher to teach different subject. Or the same thing like lecturers, when they came back, they did PhD in certain areas, specialized in certain area, but they will be asked to teach other subject that is kind of outside their specialization, and usually they won't feel comfortable because to really master the subject really need you need to take a long time, and then you really need to dive in very deep into the subject matter and internalize it, really understand the underlying principle and so on, so that you understood the subject very, very deep, so that you can now explain it in your own way, using your own style, in a way that the student can understand easily. So to me, that's very, very important to be a teacher and to teach, because you want the students to really understand the way you understand, because remember, there are 4 levels of learning, Jay. So then there's a novice learner. We always start with being a novice learner. So we call it unconscious incompetence. You don't know what you don't know. But when we are a teacher, we are actually the expert. So conscious competent. So sometimes because we are become too expert, you have been teaching for too long. So sometimes we have this phenomenon called expert blind spot. You cannot bring down yourself to that level.
Right.
And this is where the problem is. You said, this one you still don't understand. I have explained it, many times, and still don't understand. So that's why I always remember. I always remind our young lecturers, to have the empathy. Don't forget the time when you were students, the time when you were struggling to understand that same concept now that you are teaching to the students. So because we have the tendency to have that blind spot. So the mastery of the subject, Jay, to answer your questions, and to make the students really have clarity and understanding of that particular concept or principles that you are trying to teach to the students.
Right. Okay. So I recently read a book called Made to Stick. I guess they speak a lot about how to deliver a message that sticks into the brain. One of the things that they talk about is really to speak on the level of the. So imagine if you have a professor, you have a teacher, you have a normal adult and a kid, right? So if 4 of them were to communicate together, so everyone, including the professor and the adult, will have to go down to the level of the kid in order for everyone to understand.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, that's right. We have to bring to that level. That's why they say the trainee teachers, guru pelatih, can teach more effectively in the way that students can understand compared to the experienced teacher sometimes, because the trainee teacher is still at that level where they can bring themselves to the same level with the students, and the same thing in the university. We have something called graduate assistant or teaching assistant. This is actually from research. They said the teaching assistant, which basically a graduate student, master's or PhD student, and they take the kind of the job to teach the students. So they call it graduate assistant or graduate teaching assistant. And they can actually teach more effectively in the sense that the student can understand better, because they can bring the level down to the students easier than compared to the professors, which some of them can have this expert blind spot.
Right. Okay. So one of the things during Education Summit, right, in a typical fashion, a professor, doctor level, right, what we would expect from a presentation slide, it would be a lot of PowerPoint, a lot of words and things like that. But I see that a lot in your presentation is very simple. It's almost like Steve Jobs having just one word, one picture, and having a very simplistic approach to explain a simple concept, a difficult concept in a way. And I guess I hear from one of your videos is that you try to explain what quantum physics to your grandmother. Is that true?
Yeah, no, that's what people say. If you can explain quantum physics to your grandmother, but be careful, your grandmother could be like Einstein.
Right. Okay.
But basically, to laymen to ordinary people who doesn't have the basic or the knowledge. So if you can make it simply and they can easily understand, so that's the hallmark. The hallmark of great teachers, is to simplify things in a way that people can easily understand the subject matter. And I was trained actually. It was actually only 2 weeks, Jay, when I was trained to become a salesman to do the pitching. But it was a 2 weeks intensive, brutal training, I would say. Brutal training, because every day we were called into the room and we have to pitch to the manager as if we are selling this to the man, to him. And he said, the instruction is very short. Convince me to buy this encyclopedia in 5 minutes. So as a fresh graduate, I remember I was kind of stammer, and so on. Then in less than 1 minute, he said, get out from this room. So every day is like that. So it was very brutal training, but it was very effective.
Right. So how did you improve your skill during that time? I guess one of my job also was doing a salesman. So in a shopping complex selling frying pans, right? At the time, I had to resort to going to books, right, on how to, you should identify what are the benefits, right, so that you can convince them and ask them more questions and relating to them using problem and solution methods. So how did you slowly pick up your skill in influencing and convincing?
We were trained properly. We were assigned a supervisor. So in the morning, the supervisor will the first 3 days is actually only product knowledge. So we have to know all aspects of the product. But after that, the rest of the time during the 2 weeks, we were trained specifically to sell, to pitch. So we were trained how to do it. The arts of communication, the arts of pitching, the arts of convincing people, the body language, the face expression, the gesture, all these things were taught within that 2 weeks. So that's why I believe, why didn't we pick up, we learned this at the university? Because we don't really have that kind of intensive training into certain skill. We are doing everything in a kind of, very broad, very general on the surface. So that's why I believe we can have a lot of program like boot camp or summer school, something like that, where during that 2 weeks, for example, we just focus on a certain skill that we want to develop. And I believe in 2 weeks we can do it. In 2 weeks we can do it.
Okay. Yeah. So, Prof, would you say that during those 2 weeks, right, when you were trained as a salesman selling encyclopedia, would you say that sort of establishes the foundation on how you as a lecturer using right now in the same influencing skill that you have learned during that time?
Exactly. I would say that was actually a really, really good training for me that I never realized or imagined that I would use that skill in my job now, and I was lucky when I did my PhD also. Yeah, these are the thing that I find I'm blessed, because all the way I was lucky to get a few inspiring great teachers, from whom I use them as a model, also to be like them. So I was lucky to get a very good supervisor for my PhD, and he encouraged us, I mean the students, to present, in the during the lunchtime seminar, so called, and he took us to the seminars outside the. Whenever we have the chance to attend the seminar, he will take us. So to present and share our research. So the training was continuous in a way, and we get to kind of sharpen the saw, sharpen the skill, and improve the skill. But that's not enough. That's not enough. I remember when I came back in 1994, and 1 or 2 years after that, I got the chance to present my work, my research work, in Cambridge. So I went back to UK and presented my work in Cambridge University. It was a 3 days conference, and I remember my presentation was on the second day, but on the first day, I sat there watching all these professors with the white hair, gray hair, and so on, presenting their work. So I was kind of, I got panicked because the kind of research done is very advanced, and the way they presented the work was just so excellent. So I thought, oh, wow. So suddenly I lost my confidence. So I thought, and I felt like flying home, and just cancel my presentation the next day. Although I have got some skill already, but I lost the confidence suddenly when I saw other people doing some, the presentation in a very excellent in native British English, and so on. But then, luckily, then the night before my presentation, I sit down and really think. Oh, then I thought about, hey, I have my excellent research work here. Why should I feel inferior? And my communication skill is not so bad. Maybe my English is not like British English. So slowly I get the confidence back, and the next day, Alhamdulillah, I managed to present my work. Well, I got a lot of good feedback from the audience, so I guess it was not so bad.
Okay, right. So I guess in a way, as a teacher, as a lecturer, it's not only just presenting to the audiences, but it's much more of like selling them why they should want this knowledge that you're presenting over here.
Yeah, that's why I think if people in communication will tell you, and the same thing when I was trained as a salesman. That's why the first 3 days you get to know your product very, very detailed. So product knowledge is just like the mastery of the subject matter. So the same thing, if you want to present your work, your research work, whatever, you must have the mastery. You really know your stuff inside out. So that's the first prerequisite. The second one, of course, you have good communication skill, good presentation skill, good content. Then you go out there and you just do your stuff, and you will really enjoy yourself. You will be in your element
Right.
during the session.
Okay, so Prof, okay, there's a question over here from Hafiza. I'm not sure.
I saw that, Hafiza.
Okay.
Thank you for being here.
All right. So I wonder, as a father, could you teach your own children? Okay, this is a very interesting question. I find myself very difficult. Perhaps I have a different personality teaching my students versus children. How can you comment on that, Prof?
I think this is typical, I think even the best teacher in school probably cannot teach their own children for some reasons. This maybe I'm not in the best position to answer the reason why, but yes, I don't really I don't think I'm an effective teacher for my children. So that's why we send our kids all to tuition last time. Um, I don't know. Maybe our children, because they are too familiar with us, they don't take us seriously when come to sit down with them and teach them. But we can help them in their work. But in terms of taking over the role of a teacher as a teacher in school, it may not be that effective, I guess.
Right. I guess there was this sharing by someone, right, when they're talking about families, right? Because you live with them, you sleep together, you eat together, you know so
Yeah,
much trait about them, right? Even like
yeah,
night bulu kening, then you know what they are thinking about it. Right? So it kind of add on to the layers on how you can
yeah,
approach teaching your
yeah.
own kids and from there, right? Okay, so for those watching, please keep in any of your questions that you have for Prof, and also so that for the future, those who are watching in coming after the live session, they may be able to get some insights from there as well. So I would just like to zoom in, fast forward a little bit, right after the starting phase of your journey on this. I seen that you actually started your entire online teaching in a very, very early stage, especially when you started off in Malaysia. So even you actually started off even right when Steve Jobs announces the launch of the first Macintosh, right? So that was like, wow, such a long time ago, right until now. So could you tell us about how did actually you get started on the online teaching arena in that term? Yeah.
I remember when I did my degree, my first degree in USM, and at that time during my final year, when I was preparing for my thesis, um, I saw our lab assistant actually using a computer. So there was a very and I have friends doing computer science at that time, and at that time they're still using all this what call this all this the old technology lah. So I became very fascinated with computer. I remember they have a small computer with a green text, green screen, green colors text and on the screen and so on. But computer is an expensive stuff, in the 80s, in the early 80s. So they didn't allow us to use the computer. But I was fascinated. I wanted to use the computer. I couldn't get my thesis to be done on the computer, so still using the typewriter. I remember. And when I went to UK to do my masters, I met a few PhD students from Malaysia, and they are already some of them. I should thank them if they are listening. They are the one who really get me into the world of computer in the early days. I'm talking about in 1988 here, and but I soon I found out that to buy a computer is very expensive, and the scholarship is not enough. And after I finished my masters, I have 3 or 4 months before I start my PhD. So I went to work in the factory, the Gillette factory, the shaver, and I managed to save enough money to buy my first computer. And my first computer was Macintosh, single drive. Uh, but I don't have the picture of that Macintosh. So that started during that time, and I really into using this computer, learn the computer, and I became one of the few Malaysian there that who actually helping other Malaysian and other students whenever they have problem with computers, or when new students came. So we go and help them with the computer and so on. And some of the stuff actually at that time we were still using the mainframe, to do the calculation and so on. We still using the mainframe, but other things we using. So those were the days when I got started, Jay, and really into it. And internet at that time was still very basic. And I remember there was the early days of email. And I remember seeing a big poster announcing about electronic mail. So those who want to learn about electronic mail, please come for the briefing. That was the the time when I got my first email at that time. So that was around 1988, 89. Yeah,
Okay.
and never stopped after that. And when I came back to Malaysia, I continue. A few years when I came back, I use actually PC Windows because at that time Mac was not really strongly supported. So I switched to Windows for a few years, and then when Mac Apple presence is more or stronger in Malaysia, then I switched back to Apple. But otherwise, I would say I'm an Apple guy uh, for a long time.
Right. So along the journey from the first Macintosh all the way right now, I guess you're using a MacBook Pro right now, right? So
Yeah, yeah.
in seeing the entire transition all the way until now, right? How has the entire journey been, and how we have witnessed the advancement of technology on how it can really enhance the overall learning perspective using tools such as this, right?
Yeah, the technology has advanced so fast and so much. I remember during the early days, it is very difficult to create so-called digital learning content
Right.
for my students. It was very basic. To create a video, for example, it's very difficult. To create a website, so I wanted to create a website at that time as my teaching kind of one of the platform I can use for teaching, and basically nobody can help me at that time. So I went out all the way to find the skill, to learn the skill, learn HTML. I had to learn HTML at that time, some basic HTML to create a website, and learning material in the form of video is very few. So I have to buy and order CD using my own money from Australia, from US, from UK, in the CD-ROM format, so that I can use it with my students. Because unlike now, we have so many things. It's very easy to teach my own subject now. I guess for other subject as well, because yes, we have so much stuff. People are sharing on YouTube. So teaching is so easy nowadays in terms of content. But 20 years ago, it's not like that. So you have to really put, if you don't have that kind of strong passion, then you won't do it. That's why some people just ignore technology and just do it the basic thing.
Right. So I remember the last time when we want to create a button for a website, right? So it requires certain lines of coding to even come up with a button. So as right now today, to come up with a button, you just click,
Yeah.
drag, and edit. That's it. Right.
Nowadays, if you know how to click and drag,
Yeah.
you can do a lot of things. I remember during my masters, there's one software called Lotus 123. Oh no,
Wow. Okay.
before Lotus 123, Chi-Square.
Oh,
Chi-Square. Have you heard
okay.
Chi-Square?
I
So
heard of Lotus 123, but not
yeah,
Chi-Square.
before that, yeah, Chi-Square. Chi-Square is a word processor, but you can also use it to draw a diagram. But to draw a diagram, just let's say you want to draw a rectangle, so you have to press the key, click to form one straight line, then click to form one vertical line, then another click, then you get one rectangle.
Wow.
And with that, you can create a flow chart. And I remember feeling very proud to have one flow chart done using Chi-Square application. It took hours to get one flow chart.
Right.
So
Okay.
those were the days. And using Lotus 123, we learned how to do regression, linear regression. No, not linear regression, just linear regression using Lotus 123. Then we managed to draw the line that, wow, this is great, man, it's great.
Right.
But nowadays
And
people will laugh at you and you just do things like
yeah.
that.
Right now, you just use a iPad and pencil, and that's it. You have your graph in front of you, right? And I guess looking through the works that we have done right previously, in incorporating gamification. So we have like quizzes and softwares like gamification based softwares right nowadays. I guess during that time there wasn't so much of this type of technology right then, right? But I see that probably you yourself started to incorporate all this type of gamification even during that time as well. So could you run us through during that process on how you start to incorporate all this kind of fun learning into your teaching element?
It is tough, and it's really tough because at that time there's no terms to describe that as a gamification even, you know. And honestly, Jay, when I did that, I didn't know that. I mean, the principles behind that. It's all about what I knew was I want to make learning fun. I want to bring in the elements of excitement, the element of unpredictability, the element of the excitement, making learning fun. So I was looking for ways to do it. So that's why. But again, at that time, there are not so many tools available. So I really had to use all the creativity and all the effort to come up with all these simple games. When I look back, when I saw what I did last time, that's very very basic lah, of course, you know. But at that time, my students if my students during that time are here, they can testify. They gave me a very very good feedback. They were so excited. They have never seen something like that actually in their course. So those feedback actually really give me the energy to do more and the motivation to do more because they gave me very positive feedback. But it was really really hard. I spent a lot of money actually paying people to do this thing. I remember paying someone about 3,000 ringgit to come up with a flash based website, flash based game. I tried to do it myself, but I gave up because Flash, it was too difficult for me.
So you have to program it frame by frame. It's almost like creating a movie, right?
But I pay people with my own money to get those things done and use it for my students.
Okay, so you see, as of right now, teachers are trying to adopt to the online learning. Many of them are. So in a way, progressing from just uploading their slides online down towards really engaging students. So I guess from your side, right, you even started this 15 years ago, even before the inclusion of all this type of technology. So it's something that I really am fascinated about, and also on the effort that the amount of effort that you wish to incorporate into your learning subjects, right? It's something really out of the extraordinary, if I can say. So I love a quote that you say is that the value of teaching is always about sharing your knowledge, right? And I don't see that much in a lot of educators that I meet in my personal view. You seem to have that ikigai, right? That mission to really want to propagate learning to many other people out there, right? So could you tell us more about that on how you came out about this mission, and why is it so important to you to really propagate all these things and all these messages out?
It's not something that is consciously planned, but I found that over the years, when I wanted to do more and more for my students, I realized that I learned a lot of new skills, tools, and other learning resources. And I realized these are the resources made available free by other people, by other educators. So I'm very thankful to them because they make the learning resources, the video, the tutorial, the infographic, all these things available for free for other people. And I have learned so much from them. by self-learning, basically. I didn't attend a proper workshop like now we have so many. And then I realized, hey, there's so much out there coming from educators from all over the world, but there's not so much from Malaysia. So that's why I make it as my personal mission now. And I myself want to contribute back to the world of education, to the internet in terms of the giving back the knowledge to the knowledge repository on the internet. And at the same time, I cannot do it alone because that's why I want to get as many educators possible in Malaysia to start creating content. And that's the reason I came up with that FB group, the global educators, global edutubers, edu creators, and edu streamers. And the timing was kind of right because of the pandemic lockdown and so on. So everyone actually joined the bandwagon. So because there's so much out there coming from other people, but not from Malaysia. So I think it's time now for us to give back because we have benefited so much from the content provided by other people. It's time for us to give back to the community of practitioners, to the community of learners from around the world. That is my motivation now, Jay.
Okay, so I would like to also talk about the different initiatives that has been involved by you yourself during the past few years. One of it is MOOC, the MOOC initiative. So could you run through with us more about that initiative?
MOOC stands for Massive Open Online Courses. And basically the spirit or the philosophy of MOOC, again, it was started in US. The basic philosophy is to reach out global learners to provide unlimited access to education to people from around the world. And UNESCO from United Nations, they are the one who champion this under the big agenda called Education for All. And now they have a new something called Sustainable Development Goal or SDG. They have 17 SDGs there, but SDG number 4, goal number 4, is to provide quality education for everyone. So how do we achieve that education for everyone, education for all, and how we make it education inclusive, whether you are normal or whether you are disabled learners and so on. So that's what inclusive education is about. So one way is to provide content, to provide education by providing free content that is accessible, not only accessible in terms of getting to the material, but even if you are disabled learners, you blind or you have impaired vision or impaired hearing and so on, you can still learn. So this is where the agenda of massive open online courses, where we encourage people to offer their knowledge through online course and open it free for everyone. And everyone can take the course from all over the world, so you can get massive number of students enrolling in the course without paying anything. So that's what the massive is about, thousands of students. And at the same time, UNESCO also championed something called Open Educational Resources, or OER. And this is also a big thing, meaning that you can share your 3 minutes video on YouTube, teaching a concept or teaching something. So there's already OER, Open Educational Resources. So this is something that whether it's MOOC or OER, is about having or sharing our knowledge online, freely available, accessible to everyone. So that's the mission that I am advocating now.
Right. Okay. So also, I think speaking of the disabled or the special needs students learning, right? Just a sneak preview, the Education Summit, we are currently preparing for the next Education Summit that will be focusing specifically for those who have for example, visually impaired or hearing impaired. So we have quite a number of educators that are on board already that will be highlighting on this as well, right? So I guess technology, in a way, it allows us to really leverage on these difficulties that people are facing, and to really allow them to receive education, even though there are some challenges that they are facing. But the only way to go is to really leverage on technology, right?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, technology to me is a boon, not a bane, because some people look at technology in a negative way, but I guess technology is an enabler that we need to support. One of the enablers to support our education ecosystem. So rather than looking at technology as in a negative manner, we should leverage the power of technology to bring education to the masses. Bring education to the masses. Of course, there is still an issue of technology divide, or so-called digital divide. So the have and the have not. But that should not stop us from starting using technology, because it's a matter of time where we can address that divide. The gap is closing very fast. So I think we need to move, to start the effort now, leverage the technology as much as we can to deliver education to the masses.
Okay, so let's see. There's a question over here from Aziz Rajab. Continuous professional developments program are fundamentals for the in-service teacher to sharpen their competencies and pedagogical skills. But unfortunately, it turns out to be like jack of all trades, but master of none. So any opinion on this? I guess continuous professional development, it seems to be something that probably we want teachers to learn about all of these type of skills. But how? I guess one of the main questions is that how do we develop truly skillful teachers that are able to deliver meaningful lessons, right, to students out there? Any comments on this, Prof?
Well, I believe any educator, especially not only school teachers, but especially the context of higher education, I look at the model of an educator, following the capital T model. Capital T. So you have the horizontal head and the vertical pillar. So initially, I think the first 5 years, I think teachers or lecturers teaching at the university, they should take the opportunity or grab the opportunity to teach as many subjects as possible, because I think as an academic, we need to have a broad-based knowledge. For example, I'm a food technologist. In food technology, we have so many things. We have food science, food chemistry, food processing, food safety, food microbiology, food biotechnology, food quality. So as a food technologist, I need to know, at least a little bit of this different area under the broad umbrella of food technology. So if I just teach one or two subjects from the beginning until I retire, so I don't get to learn the other area in my subject matter. So that's why I believe the first 5 years go broad. So yes, jack of all trades, broad-based knowledge. Then after 5 years, or maybe after 5 years or 10 years, you can now start teaching 2 or 3 subjects and continue to develop that very deep. Then that's become vertical, so you go deep into it. So you become very specialized, and you get a mastery, or you reach the level of mastery of that subject matter. But at the same time, you have the broad-based knowledge. So to me, that will give this so-called holistic kind of wholesome, holistic academic, because you can get to, you can have a conversation on different areas in your subject matter. At the same time, you are specialized in in 2 or 3 kind of areas, become an expert in it.
Right.
So
Okay.
jack of all trades and maybe master of one rather than master of none.
Right. Okay. So you start off from a very broad perspective, learning all
Yes.
kind of skills before zooming in into that one that really triggers your interest.
Yeah.
Okay. So speaking of MOOC as well, I guess another initiative that Prof has been very involved in is it's on the Center for Development of Academic Excellence, right?
Mhm.
So I guess could you tell us more about what initiatives is this organization has been pillaring from this past few years?
Yeah, this center was formed in 2012, and basically, um, I'm still the the director of this center, perhaps until next year. Um, but basically, the role and function of this center is to run a professional development program, basically training, because all our 1,900 academic staff or lecturers in USM, we are subject matter expert. We have PhD in different areas. We specialize in our own core, research area. But when it comes to teaching, we are novice. When we join the university, unless if you have the education background or you have diploma in education, but by and large, we are novice teachers. So they need to go through the process to acquire the skill, the knowledge, to the pedagogical knowledge, the pedagogical content knowledge, so that they can apply the pedagogical principle to teach the subject matter in the best possible way and to give the best learning experience to the students. So the training program actually are divided into 2 parts. One is actually training on the pedagogical aspect, so that our lecturers have understand the underlying principles of pedagogy or andragogy, whatever you want to call it. And another area is we focus also on the technology, how to integrate technology seamlessly with the pedagogy. So these are the 2 areas that we have, and we have a long list of training that we do throughout the year, in the for all our 1,900 lecturers throughout the spread over the 3 campuses in Penang. We have the engineering campus and the main campus, as well as in Kelantan, the health campus. So that's basically the role and function of this center, Center
Okay.
for Development of Academic Excellence.
Okay. So in a way, lecturers or teachers that wants to improve their teaching skills can they any teachers out there, can they get enrolled in this initiative?
Yeah, it's not a choice. It's all the new lecturers who join USM. They have to go through this intensive 2 weeks program, intensive full-time 2 weeks program, during which they will be exposed to how to become good academics, how to become great teachers for the USM students. So a lot over the years, the program has been refined in terms of the content of the program. So now I'm very proud to say, and we have here Dr. Abma Khan here, or Dr. Abbas, his nickname, his short name. He was the alumni of this program. Maybe he can say something about the impact of the program for him on him.
Okay, so Alma, maybe you can comment down below what have you gotten out of the entire program? Yeah.
I personally in charge of the program, and I will be there during the 2 weeks to make sure the program run smoothly and achieve the outcome that we have intended.
So it's almost like back to when you were saying about that 2 weeks period of training as a salesman when you were younger. It's something similar to us, that to have intensive training so that we can really elevate the level of teaching proficiency in teachers and lecturers.
Well, during my time when we joined the university, there is no specific program like this. We do have, but in different form. But when I took over the center, I totally revamped the program and the content of the program, and we went through a few iteration, a few changes, and until now, and I think what we have now is a very comprehensive program. So 20 years ago, 25 years ago when I joined, it's not like what we have now. So I think now it's much better. Yeah, that's Dr. Abbas now there. He said really intensive.
Right, intensive and eye-opening experience. Right. So it does not really matter if it's a face-to-face or the online. So all of these learnings can be applied in both of these mediums as well. Am I right?
Yeah. Basically, there's also the part where we expose the participant to the online teaching and learning. But most of it actually, we look at the fundamental, the fundamental aspect, the pedagogical aspect, how to do things in terms of strategies and teaching strategies and so on by using a proper pedagogical principles. So we covered the fundamental aspect of it, how to do assessment, how to create rubric, how to engage students in the classroom, things like that, in the program. But it's still very basic. 2 weeks, you cannot learn everything. So that's why we encourage the lecturers to go through the program that our center has planned throughout the years and throughout their service, so that they can continue to learn new things, new skill, new tricks of the trade, to be a great academics, great lecturers.
Right. Okay. I guess in a way also, from all of the sessions that you have created over there, right, are these made available for the public to learn more about from the CDAE course that we just?
Well, the 2 weeks intensive is not available. It's a closed program, but some of the program that we run throughout the years, some we make it available. We have the recording and we make it available through our YouTube channel. And nowadays, I think since the start of the lockdown, I think we will see post COVID. Most of a lot of things that we do in the university, not only USM but other universities, people are so willing to share the session online, like the webinar and so on. So this is very good. We get to learn a lot of things that previously only done within the closed door, in the campus, in the university. Just like what we are doing now, Jay. I think the same thing also.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, it's a new culture, a new way of learning nowadays.
Right. Correct. And I guess it's slowly picking up speed.
Yeah.
For, yeah. Not only teachers and also students as well, looking on towards online learning as a key thing. So speaking of which, right, I guess engaging them and to capture their attention would be one of the key criteria, because if there's no attention, they won't even go through the entire thing. So any comments on that, Prof, on how do we really get the attention and the engagement of students to sort of in a way create the learning desire for them to want to come in and learn more about the subject that we are teaching?
Well, I'm not an expert on. Although people say that I'm do all this thing online and so on, but I'm still learning myself because engaging students online is very challenging, and we can learn from those. If you see now, we have people like Nazrin and other things doing all coaching for those who want to do online training, online teaching. So these are the places or the people that can help us to improve. So should go and attend. For myself, actually, I basically read. I learn through reading and so on, watching the YouTube, how to engage students online and and try to apply that in my own course, online course in my learning design. But still, I find it still very challenging. So this is something that everybody has to continuously learn the new tricks, so-called new tricks of the trade, and apply it slowly. And I think sooner or later we can get a formula that we can use, to engage students in our own classroom, because the concentration span is very, very short.
Right. So during the Edu Summit, I guess we see a lot of examples on them doing videos. It's almost like the teacher has to become like a entertainer rather than just purely an educator by themselves, right? They wearing like animal mask and things like that to get attention, right? So the role of educator seems to have the standard is required to be upgraded by all means during the online learning.
It takes a lot of energy and time, actually, Jay, to plan for one session. It takes a lot of time and energy. But I guess we just have to do it. Just for 1 hour session, even when recently, I tried to do the live webinar, live streaming and so on. It takes time to really plan for 1 hour webinar session before, and just, I'm sure you know very well, since you have done a lot of things, this webinar thing during the Education Summit and so on, the management, the behind the scene work people don't see, So when we go online live like this, but people don't see the many hours that you have spent to communicate with the speakers, to arrange for the live session, to make sure everything run on smoothly, to think of the question that you want to ask. So I know very well what it takes for you to prepare for this session. So a lot of sacrifice also at the same time.
Right. I guess at the end of the day, it's well worth it because it's all documented, and for the next 10, 20 years to come, people can see it again and again and again. Right.
You can reuse the material, you can repurpose the material in many ways.
Right. So even for the Education Summit, for those watching, I'm sure you have watched Prof. Karim's topic of on that day, which is the how to become a professional teacher, right? Right. So that was a very inspiring topic that you have presented. It even inspires me from a lot of aspects on the way on how a teacher should really step out even from their own shoe to be an engaging teacher from that part. So from that core story of it, right? How is it sort of like an exemplary of your own story going through the entire learning journey from that?
Yeah, basically I tell my own story, and I try to walk the talk rather than just just saying it from other people's experience. So basically, much of what I share in my presentation, and especially when I conduct a hands-on workshop, usually I will use my own examples, because if you just teach the thing and you yourself don't do it, so to me, it's not very convincing. So walk the talk. You tell your own story, and make it as transparent as possible, so that people will learn from that, and maybe they can relate to some of that, and adopt and adapt some of it in their own practice and so on. Maybe not everything, of course, because different. I always say that no two journeys are the same. Different teachers, different educators will have a different journey and will have a different story to tell. And that's the reason, Jay, I always encourage people to write their story in the blog, share the story. So I have one blog, publication Anecdotes of Academia, on Medium platform. So I have invited people to share their story, the anecdotes, the whatever that they do in daily life as an academic, dealing with the students, preparing for the teaching, overcoming the challenges. All these things can become a story that you can write, and people read. When you share, people read, and they can learn something from it. And for all we know, because it happened to me many times, when I read other people's blog or watch the video, it will spark ideas, and sometimes it can change a lot of things of what I'm doing by reading that article. So we have a lot of things, stories we can share to really benefit other people. So write a blog, send to my blog publication, Anecdotes of Academia.
Right.
Anecdotes of Academia.
Anecdotes of Academia. It's on the Medium website platform. Right?
Yeah, Medium platform. Yeah.
Right. So we'll definitely lead it down on the comment later for those who are watching later on this time. But by the way, Prof, I've seen that aside from only mastering the skills from yourself, you are actually, in fact, creating a lot of communities that are advocating on excellence learning and also on utilizing technology to teach in this time of era as well. So could you share with us the few communities that you have created and how teachers would be able to learn from these communities?
Yeah, it's true, Jay. I think we need to advocate in what we believe in. So that's what I'm doing. I'm advocating what I believe in as far as online learning is concerned, as far as sharing is concerned. So one way to advocate is by creating the so-called community of practitioners, sharing the same passion, the like-minded people, so-called. So that's why I created Aspiring Young Academics Facebook group. It's been there for some time. The members, not necessarily the young teachers or the young academics. In fact, I encourage the experienced professors and so on, even those who have retired, to join, so that they can provide guidance. They can share their own story. They can provide their wisdom and experience to guide these young academics. So when we have this program, 2 weeks intensive program for the young lecturers, I make it compulsory for them to share their summary of every day's during 2 weeks in that group. But unfortunately, after the program, not many of them continue to share, and I think they are there, but probably just looking and reading, but not really sharing. But it's okay for me. But I myself will continue to kind of get the group going, sharing from my own things and so on. Then recently I created another group. That's the global EduTubers, edu creators, and edu streamers. And this more specific group, those people who are creators already, or who would want to become creators, creating content. So we are sharing the same interests, and we can have discussions specifically on creating content, sharing content, and so on in that group. And this advocation also can come through writing blogs. You're sharing your ideas, your thought in the form of blogs. So I have one Stop Learning blog on bloggers, but now I have moved to Medium. So I have this Anecdotes of Academia and others. And through, of course, my YouTube channel, through my other social media presence as well, Pinterest and all those things. If you just Google my name, Abdul Karim Alias, you will find all the platform. Or you go to my website, profkarim.com, you'll find all the links there, showing all my web presence there. So that's, to me, the advocating what you believe in, Jay, leveraging on the social media platform.
Okay, so we will definitely link it down on the comments below. I myself, I'm one of the member for the EduTubers, right? The EduTubers learners group. So a lot of insight and a lot of passionate teachers which are in there sharing their, even first time of them creating their videos, right? It was like a very good support group.
And some of them are here in the session today, Jay.
Right,
including
right.
Abma Khan there,
Ah,
Dr. Nova Izzah just now. Yeah,
right.
also
And
in the group.
so Amma, if you are able to share some of your videos that you've created for teaching, then that would be very interesting as well. Yeah. And I guess Dr. Tazli also is together
Yeah,
with Prof as well in this.
yeah.
And I see that he's using like a neon plexiglass to create his content, right? So it's
Lightboard,
almost like,
we call it lightboard.
yeah, the lightboard concept. So I see that there's like a group of people that is like advocating and focusing their energy on how to create interesting learning materials, especially for this era,
I
right?
hope
So
we will have more, because these are the champions that would create content from Malaysia. We want to see more Malaysian content creators. We want to put Malaysia on the map, and people now will refer to our content, will learn from our content and benefit from our content, so that we don't complain now. Why we take content and from all this Mat Saleh from westerns and so on. Then I say, okay, where is our content then? So if you know how to complain but you don't know how to do it, and you don't do it yourself, then don't complain.
right. I guess like from doing the education summit, right? I seem to find out that not only the content, the packaging of the content is very important as well. So
Yes.
yeah, in so the perceived value of people to find out that, oh, this is something valuable that I must learn, then they will
Yeah,
automatically take the action to want to come to your platform to learn from that part, right?
of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
Packaging is important.
So educators slowly gravitates towards becoming a marketer and a salesperson as well, that they have to master in order to share their
Yeah.
knowledge as well. Yeah.
But to start with, don't worry about the packaging part. Just do it. Just like Nike said, just do it. Get your message across, but slowly improve it. And yeah, some people say, be yourself, and you don't have to do a grand things and so on. Just like this the YouTubers, Sugu Pavitra, right? Very popular now, Sugu Pavitra. Very simple, no kind of state of the art studio and so on. Right? But people like the content. Um, but as far as like us in education context, uh, as much as we can, we try to put also the packaging, improve the quality, the audio, the video, whatever, so that we feel proud that content from Malaysia is of the highest quality. People, we want to earn respect in that way.
Okay. So in looking on towards that, right? Looking into the technology that we've spoken about 25 years ago, right? If let's say, Prof, 25 years ago, if you were to have all of these technologies that we have present day right now, right? What would you have created during 25 years ago, and how you would have progressed the entire learning aspect that you have run with the technology that we have today? Any comments on that?
Well, I guess if I had all this technology that like what we have now, I don't know, maybe I would have probably spent a lot of time creating content since those days. Um, Sometimes when I look back, I sometimes ask, I kind of ask also the question, where did I find all those time and energy? I just couldn't believe it, because at the same time I was busy setting up my research, lab and so on, and my research also was growing at the same time as my teaching. So it's more or less the same. Both are actually growing up, or growing at the same time. But I guess sacrifice and support. I think my wife, I must give credit to my wife, because she really supported me in terms of giving me the freedom, in terms of time and so on. Because if I had the kind of technology that I have now, maybe it was not that difficult for me to create content. Nowadays, we can create content on the fly. It's so easy with the phone and the app. You can create one video content already and upload straight to YouTube. So that's why there's no reason actually. There's no reason or excuse that we cannot create content, contribute original content, because it can be done on the fly, literally on the fly. You can do it on when you fly on, in the plane. So you can just record a video without needing the internet connection. So that's how easy it is. But it's not like that many years ago.
Yeah, very true. So
Yeah.
especially for the happening of COVID and MCO, I would just like to find out from Prof, right? For if we look at it from the tertiary education per se, right? What will be the landscape moving forward after post MCO, since technology has been heavily utilized during this period of time? How would the university or tertiary education really involve post COVID-19? I guess you've seen in one of the discussion during the forum, we have been talking about what's going to happen with
Post-COVID.
technology. Yeah, post COVID. Any comments on that, especially for the tertiary education side?
Well, I think after post-COVID, online, anything related to online learning would be more commonplace. It will become more and more common, rather than something seen as you can have it, or you can do it, or we have the option to do it or not to do it. But now maybe people will see technology as part and parcel, integrated, something that must have as part of the teaching and learning thing. It's no longer an option, but something that they can use the power of technology to facilitate a lot of things that they do in the day-to-day teaching and learning. And I can see, for example, blended learning in the future would be more would be applied in a more meaningful way. Currently, from what I observe, when we say blended learning, the lecturers just use the online platform just to supplement or to complement, but not in a very meaningful way, But post-COVID, I think because they now have understood the value and how they should really design and integrate technology in a more meaningful and purposeful way. So the blended learning post-COVID will be more meaningful and serve the real purpose of learning. So more understanding, more awareness, more appreciation of how to do online more, and how to use technology and technological tools in a more meaningful way. So that's how I see things would evolve in the future.
Okay. So also another thing to echo on that as well. Looking into how also Dr. Tazli has been sharing in terms of like micro credentials and how a lot of people are telling that, hey, right now with the technology, the educators will not be the only gatekeeper of the knowledge, right? The knowledge will not only be held on the hands of teachers. So I would just like to add on, probably during the history of China, right? During that time, how they assess students, it's more towards we have the examination. We only prepare for the examination, but for the learning process, it's really up to the students. It doesn't matter how old you are. You would have find out the knowledge and sharpen your skill in whichever way possible. But I would only create the assessment timing and the assessment platform to assess your knowledge on that. Would you see something like this take part in a way in the future time to come, whereby it's really free for students to go out and learn whichever knowledge that they please to from internet or whichever resources that they can find, and they come back to university as a place to get the certain degree only from the assessment side? Yeah. Any comments on that, Prof?
Yes, exactly. It's already happening to some extent, but it will be even more, stronger or widespread in the near future, next year and onwards. This is what we call learning on demand. And you can see it's already happening, especially in US, especially learning on demand, just in time, just enough, just for me, for example, if I'm now working, working adult, I'm working now, but I have intention to get a degree or a diploma, formal qualification, but I don't have time to really, spend 4 years at the university because I have to earn money for my family. So now I can simply take one, package from USM, another package from MIT, another package from another universities, and I collect this credit. And this credit come in the form of so-called digital badges. And I put everything on my e-portfolio, on my learning dashboard. And when I have enough 120 credit, for example, I can go to any university and get a degree and just transfer the credit. So for your information, Jay, this is what we are working now, and I'm directly involved in this micro-credential thing with NQA. And in USM now, we are driving this big agenda of micro-credential to make it happen this year and the following years onwards. It's actually a new way of getting credential. This is what we call digital credentialing or alternative credential. So it's not like a credential as we know now, which is a degree or a diploma, which basically time-based. And basically in the setting of formal education, you have to register as a student if you are qualified based on a certain admission requirement. If you don't make it, then you cannot come into the formal education system. But if you make it, you will stay there for 4 years. It's a time-based. Although you are so smart, like you, Jay, you are so smart, but you have to stay for 4 years and you have no choice, but you have to stay for 4 years and get the degree done. Even if you only 1 credit less, you cannot get a degree. So that's the formal education. Not flexible, very rigid. But with micro-credential, we actually make it very flexible. You can start to collect the credit slowly, and so on. When it's enough, you can go to any university and get the full degree and just transfer the credit. This is going to happen very soon. It's not just saying this, but it's going to happen very soon because MQA would be allowing this to happen through the micro-credential framework.
Okay. In fact, it actually happens to me during my SPM time. In school, right? The other time I was transferred to a Malay school. So in that term, we didn't have the Bahasa Cina class in the school. So there was a worry that, okay, if I studied alone, so it might affect the grade of Bahasa Cina. So I didn't take it during that formal SPM test. But however, I took it 1 year later personally. So it was purely based on my own initiative to go and find the books and the resources to learn about it. And I just in on that SPM class during that time. And fortunately, I got a very good grade from there. Not A, probably B plus by my own effort without teachers' guidance and things like that. Right?
It's possible.
Yeah.
It's possible.
Right.
So that's why now you see in the US now they have micro bachelors, micro masters. So micro bachelors, instead of 4 years bachelor, they actually break it down into like 3 or 4 micro bachelors. So people can take this micro bachelors at their own time and so on. So once they have completed, so they get 1 micro bachelors, and probably for some people that's enough for them to add value to their whatever qualification they already have. But they can go on and take another, let's say, 3 micro bachelors. Once they have completed, they can put these 4 micro bachelors together and get 1 full bachelor degree. It's already happening in the US, and it's going to happen in big time all over the world.
It's sort of like a buffet for pick you can choose on whichever dish that you want. Okay.
There's many terms to describe that model. They call it buffet. They call it jukebox. They call it a la carte So whatever name they want to call it, but the concept is still the same, meaning that there's another term called curate. You can curate your own learning and put them together, and you can get full diploma or full degree. And it's very flexible. You can do it on your own, because you will see that when you go to any learning platform in the future, they will show you the learning path. So this learning path will take you to whatever formal qualification in the end. So choose your learning path. Then take your own sweet time. When you have the time, when you have the money, when you have the motivation, the mood, you can take it slowly and go up to that learning path, and finally you know where the end destination would be, a degree or diploma or whatever.
Right.
It's happening now, but it's going to happen in big time very, very soon.
All right. I guess that is very, very good news in a way. I can imagine seeing people, even though if they have financial difficulties, they can start by going to work first and then slowly accumulating their credentials from there as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's what we call bridging the non-formal or informal learning to the formal learning, or non-formal, informal education to a formal education. So meaning that if we now fail to make it to the university in the first round, we don't have to be, to be despair or frustrated. You can go to work, but you can now build up slowly the pathway into the formal qualification. So this is what we call earn to learn rather than learn to earn. The formal education, you go and learn and get a degree and then go to work to earn. But now we flip that, earn and learn.
Okay.
Earn to learn, earn and learn,
Right.
and get a formal degree.
Right, and I guess not only that, it's something that we seem to have the notion that, okay, education is for 4 years, then right after that education stops, right? With the model
Yeah,
that you have just shown to us, it could be
yeah,
someone that is in their 50s, but they decided to take let's say food technology for that example,
yeah.
right?
Mm.
And they can just continue their learning for the rest of their lives with this kind of model, and not being subjected to taking 4 years in university, which I have to pay the fee and all of the structures within that as well, right?
Yeah, we
So
need to change that mindset. In the Western, they have this for a long time. They call it lifelong learning, right? And in Malaysia, already the government through the Ministry of Education and Ministry of Human Resource, actually, they have started this so-called blueprint of lifelong learning. But somehow, unfortunately, nothing much or not much has been done. So the concept of lifelong learning is still not really, very strong. But I think now there's a renewed effort to champion the lifelong learning. But now not only lifelong learning, we say also life-wide learning as well. Because I remember when I did my PhD last time in UK, I attended a computer class for adult learners, for orang tua, for these retired pensioners and so on. I didn't know the class was for them, so I went and attend that class. I realized I was the only student who's the young one, and the rest are actually pakcik and makcik,
right.
And these are pensioners or retired people, but they want to learn what is this thing called computer. So so that's a spirit. And I think nowadays in Malaysia, when they say, oh, I'm going to retire soon, and in their mind is, okay, I'll be staying at home, and go to the mosque, and but I think it's not like that anymore. This is where we must take that opportunity to get a new certificate in this, certificate in that, even a diploma in this, diploma in that. So this is what the real philosophy of lifelong learning, from cradle to grave, from cradle to grave.
Okay. Wow. That's a very interesting topic that I hope that we can prolong on, because it adds on a lot of dimensions towards the
Yeah.
entire education system on
Yes.
what we have been discussing in Education Summit 2020 as well. All
Yeah.
right. Hopefully, we can see much more of this happening in Malaysia.
Yeah.
Okay. Looking at the question from Daljit Singh, Prof,
Now,
what's
Jay,
your
how are
opinion?
you?
Right. Also a colleague from USM as well. Is it? What's your opinion on ensuring the delivery of online pedagogy approach when doing
What's
open
your
distance learning? How do
opinion?
educators ensure the check and balance take place? They have been outpour by teachers in getting students' interest to retain their attention. Yeah, we've been speaking a lot about retaining their
Yeah.
attention. Number one, attracting them to want to come to class in the first place. Secondly, sustaining their attention span. Yeah, so there's two approach. Any comments on that, Prof?
Yeah, that's always been a challenge, as I mentioned earlier. So that's why I think when we do the online part of the distance learning, there's a new skill set that teachers or lecturers have to learn and acquire and master. So the mindset and the skill set, these are the two things that I always repeat and always mention. Going to online from the face-to-face environment, um, you know, um, we have to understand the environment in online learning. We have to understand the learners. We have to understand their background, uh, what kind of facilities they have. So we need to learn all that. So the new mindset on both the lecturers as well as the students. Not only the lecturers, but also the students have to adopt and adapt. The lecturers also have to adopt and adapt. And then we have to learn a new skill set, a different kind of skill set, different tools, different strategies. So these are the things, for example, engaging learners. So a few days ago, I have one half day session just to talk about engaging learners with MMU, I think. So how do we engage learners? And this is something that we need to learn from experts. So I recommend one book by Curtis Bong, who is a professor, well known in professor of distance education or online learning. A book is called Tech Variety, TEC, TEC capital letters, TEC dash variety. Actually, it's an acronym stand for the different strategies that we can use to engage, just to engage learners in the online course or online learning. So that book is available free. The authors have made it free, available. You can download the whole PDF book, and they have 100 plus learning activities that we can use to engage learners. So we just need to study the book and start to apply that in our learning design. That's all we need to do. 100 plus. I think I have tried maybe only less than 5, maybe so far. Then, I mean, at the end of the day, how much really we want to try out all these different things, but there are answers for that. Yeah.
Okay, so maybe I would put in a sneak preview from my side as well. I will be publishing a book called Edu Tasty. So the concept is that how to make your education tasty, right, for students,
Okay.
right? Because
It,
I have the concept. I always believe that for an educator, right, it's like a chef, right? If you serve
yeah,
a dish that is not enjoyable to the person that is eating it, right,
yeah,
not only that the person is going to be unhappy, but it ruins the relationship between that person eating the food and the chef as well, right? So the same thing goes back to teachers, right?
yeah.
If you serve a lesson that is unenjoyable for the student, right, it not only disengages the student, but it ruins the relationship between both parties as well. So
Okay.
in a way, yeah, right,
That book sounds interesting, Jay.
yeah.
Then I will write another book called Edu Spice.
Edu spy, right.
Edu Spice. You know, spices. You know,
Uh-huh.
uh, you go to any mama shop, Sikanda shop or any
Yeah.
shop, selling curry menu. curry dishes. There are no two curries taste the same. No two curries have the same flavor, because why? Because the spices that they use, just a different mix of spices. Not only the spices, you can have exactly the same type of spice, but if you cook it in different way, the way you tumis it, the way you simmer, how long you simmer, how at what point you put in this spice, at what point you put all these things, then you will have a different curry. You see? So the same concept. How you blend the thing, how you blend the thing. Among teachers, for example, we know this the same tool. Padlet, quizzes, Kahoot, all these things. But how you apply it in your learning design, the result will be different. So it's how creative the teachers are in applying the same tool, but the way they blend it together, and the end result will be different.
Right.
So you see?
Right. Yeah. So educators should definitely take themselves as chef or managers of restaurant, right? So if you go to like a 5-star restaurant, the first thing that a waiter will ask you is that, how are you doing, sir? What would you like to eat today? Right?
Yeah.
Instead of giving you, okay, you should eat this and that, right? And then
I think that's a good metaphor that you can put in your book, Jay.
right.
The waiter will ask you, okay, how do you like your steak?
Yes.
Well done,
Rare,
or
medium rare.
yeah.
Mm.
So we never ask our students, right? We never ask our students, so what do you like to learn today, or how do you like to do the class today? We never ask that, and we just do it. And we just want to make sure at the end of 14 weeks in the university, we covered the syllabus. So that's why in one of my slides, I don't know whether you have seen it. I have one slide that say, don't focus on covering the syllabus, but let students to uncover it. So it's actually totally a flip concept, rather than we go through the motion and cover the syllabus by giving lecture after lecture after lecture, slides after slides after slides. Then at the end 14 weeks, we are happy because we have done our part. We thought that we have done our part, but we never, we don't know how much students have learned. So why not, instead of going through lecture by lecture, so we have this a series of activities where the students can do problem-based or whatever you want to call it. So by doing those activities, students would kind of uncover that. They will learn the content through doing the activities. And we can do it at most basic to the very sophisticated, very advanced, from the low Bloom taxonomy to the highest level of Bloom taxonomy. So that concept to me is a very powerful and very beautiful concept. But it's hard work on the teacher's side to design those kind of learning design.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So I guess in the analogy, right, when should we give out homeworks, right?
Yeah.
It's always easy, like if you're a chef, right, managing a restaurant,
Yeah.
the payment always comes after one very important aspect, which is after you finish your meal, they will always serve you a dessert, right?
Yeah.
Something sweet, something that will make you happy. And then after that, they only give you the bill. So the same thing with the teacher as well. To give them homework, you have to have some kind of fun and fun games or quizzes right
Yeah.
before that, right? So it's a managing of state and emotion of the student as well. So it blends hand in hand with the entire aspect as well, right?
Yeah. Something called instant gratification,
Right.
All this actually, the basis is one of the learning theory on the motivation, the adult learning principle on the motivation. So whether it's an intrinsic motivation, which is the good thing, or through the extrinsic motivation. So all these things need to be addressed as part of the ingredients that we put in to cook the dish,
Right. So
and
lecturers
make
have
it tasty.
so many different dishes that they have to perfect.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So Hopefully, Daljit, that answers your question over there. And also, there's a question from Putri Rohani. Prof, what is the best measure to ensure the teachers are using the suitable pedagogy to ensure learning does take place using ODL? I'm not sure what's ODL, perhaps.
Open
Prof
distance learning. Open distance learning.
Open distance learning. Best measurement tool to ensure teachers are using the correct pedagogy.
Well, there's no short answer for this one. The measurement, the assessment part is always a big thing, and it's a big topic. And before COVID, I think the assessment part, even in the face-to-face situation, is something that one area that is very much lacking, very much lacking. That's why I told my colleague, Dr. Abbas here, Abama Khan here, because his area on assessment, I said this one area that has been neglected for a long time. So this, you should go into this, especially on online assessment in the ODL context, like our friend Putri Rohani here asked, I don't have a direct answer for what would be the best measurement. I don't think there's a such thing as the best, but we can have a multiple way of doing the assessment in order to assess the effectiveness and also the achievement of the learning outcome. And I'm definitely not an expert on this one, but I think recently I have seen many online session, even expert from recently UTM has invited these two professors, Professor Federer, forgot the name, talking about assessment and so on. So I guess it is something that we can explore together to find the best way for online assessment to measure the outcome of learning.
Right. I guess not only on the outcome of learning as well as the satisfaction level of the students by himself. I guess that's very important for the long-term sustainability of this as well, right?
Yeah. Exactly. In terms of the so-called experience, the learning experience. That's why Maya Angelou says, students will forget what we say, students will forget what we did, but students would not forget how we made them feel. So if we just focus on the learning outcome, attainment of the learning outcome, but we forget, about the learning experience. Actually, that's what they will remember even 20 years after they have, graduated from the university, how we made them feel. So I think that's probably one of the very important thing that we have to be very mindful when we design whether it's face-to-face or whether it's online, doesn't matter. How we made them feel, the learning experience, something that's very memorable and unforgettable to them, the impact of learning. Yeah.
Right. I guess to echo on that also, I'm not sure, Prof, have you heard of this restaurant called Benihana in USA?
Benihana, no.
Yeah, it's like a Japanese cuisine. So what they do is that they entertain the audiences when they're cooking. So they throw the egg, then they draw love shape, then they do all sorts of crazy things when they're cooking, creating instead of just giving you good food, but they create an amazing experience during that entire period as well.
Yeah, that's the experience. Yeah, the experience.
Right.
Yeah.
And I guess those of you, please do watch Prof's sharing during the Education Summit series. So Prof shared on 3 different videos on Steve Spangler, and then there's the School of Rock, then there's from the Dead Poets Society, right?
And Walter Lewin.
Yeah, Walter Lewin as well.
Lewin, Dead Poets Society, and School of Rock.
Yeah. Did you actually do something like that in your classes? Did you like sit on a wrecking ball?
No, not to that extent, but I did much like what Walter Lewin did, demonstration. Yeah, I did a demonstration in my class. But I guess when I look back, I'm still teaching, but I thought I could have done more. I could have done more.
Right. So we look forward to any of the crazy videos that I guess food technology. There's so many
Yeah,
things that you can do.
we can, yeah.
Right.
Science, especially, sciences, physics, chemistry, and we can do all this crazy demonstration to show the phenomenon, the natural phenomenon and so on. So it's very exciting.
Yeah. Right. So
But even in not only science, Jay, people who are teaching language here, like Dr. Abbas and so on, because I've told one story where during my secondary school, Form 4, Form 5, especially Form 4, I don't like English as a subject because it was so boring. The way the teacher at that time teach the
right.
English was so boring. But luckily, halfway we get a new teacher who came, and it changed everything 360-degree. The way he taught English is very different. He used role play, he used drama, so everyone engaged, everyone was so excited, to play, doing the role play and so on. So uh, from hate to love, from hating English, I love English subject, and I should thank that teacher. Maybe if I meet him, I will hug him because I so thankful to him to make me, loving the subject of English.
Wow. Okay. Probably you can put down his name. Maybe he's watching watching
Yeah,
right now also, right? Okay. So there
yeah,
you go. I guess end of the day, it's really not on delivering the syllabus and getting good assessment from there, but it's to really care about the students from the deep down of the core fundamental of the relationship, and to really juggle them, right, in the
yeah,
way. Yeah. So, because we have been speaking, because we are preparing for the special needs students Edu Summit. So what happened is that we've been speaking to a lot of clinical psychologists on the challenges during MCO on the education process, right? So you was telling me is that the syllabus is really the core surface level. Down fundamentally, a lot of kids are having mental depression for the worst case scenario, right? And those of them who are really having a tough time going through the syllabus, going through online teaching from there. And I guess as a lecturer right now, you have to add on another skill, which is to be a clinical psychology, to be able to help your students from the mental and emotional side as well, right? So it's not easy from that end, right? Juggling
yeah.
so many balls at the same time.
Just learn to be, to empathize. I think the empathy is very important. As I said, we tend to forget when we were students, when we were struggling as students. And now we are a professor, or we have been teaching in school. For example, you are the headmaster maybe for a long time. So we tend to forget the time when we were students. So don't forget. Please recall back the time when we were struggling, so that we can empathize with the students when they were struggling with their academic, when they were struggling with their, even daily life. So put ourselves in their position and try to help them as much as possible, and try to connect with our student. The connection, I think, is very, very important, especially the emotional connection, because if we're not connecting with our students, it's very hard for us to empathize with them, you know so we are just busy thinking about what we need to do and finish the syllabus, and we are happy. So I think I remind myself also from time to time, because sometimes I also forget, the empathy part.
Percara berjiwa pelajar, right? Nicely put. Najib. Yeah. Right. So for Prof, right? I guess talking on this, the physical teacher in the digital classroom. So
Yeah.
every day you have been providing a lot of digital classroom learning online. So what can we really see or expect for upcoming projects from Prof? What are you brewing in your mind right now on what's to come for the next 1 year, 5 years, 10 years to come? Yeah.
I have so much things lining up, things to do. I mean, from my own personal project. That's why I look forward to my kind of retirement day, uh, because I want to use that time to do what I cannot do now, because time is so pressing. A lot of things I still need to do in my capacity as the director of the center, in my capacity also as a lecturer, because I'm still teaching and supervising students for research, and we still have to do publication and so on. But as far as creating my mission as a global educator, as I put it on my YouTube channel, the banner there. So I want to always trying to find time to create new content, tutorial, sharing, writing for the blog, and 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 trying to get as many people as possible to create content. So in terms of the ideas or project that I have in mind, there's so many things, doing ebooks, for example, and creating other blogs, platform. So many things, Jay. I cannot list down here. I need to take one thing at a time.
Right.
So recently, during the last 2 weeks, I was a bit quiet because I had to focus and prioritize on other things to get things done and push things. So that's why maybe if you have been following me on like Facebook group on EduTubers, EduCreators group, I was a bit quiet. Also in the aspiring young academic because I need to focus on something and get it done. We have to juggle a lot of things actually as an academic.
Right. I guess in a way, Prof, do you have like a team of people? Because it's almost like handling a media company already, right? So content every week, and then there needs to be someone that figure out what kind of content, what do you call the concept, the new ideas, the copywriting. So all of this requires a lot of time to figure it out, right? So are you like training any trainees, interns that are taking this to the next level, scaling it up? So hopefully there's more quality contents that can be.
Yeah. For the center, the thing that we do as part of the program for the center, we have a group of people that doing this thing together. But the other part that what I'm doing with like the creating content and so on, that's more of my own personal endeavor, my personal effort. So I'm doing two things. One in my formal capacity, official capacity, and the other one is in my own capacity, my own interest and passion. So I'm trying to balance this thing,
Right.
two things together,
Right.
as much as I can.
Right. I guess, Prof, you're aware of Gary V, right? So probably you can have a 24-hour video cameraman that is going to be capturing your journey so that you can create contents on the go every day, 24 hours, capturing all of the processes that you are going through.
Yeah.
Okay, so there you go. Yeah, Appa Khan saying that. Yeah, I waited, but Prof didn't show up. But by the way, Prof, you have been going through a lot of sharing session, even from this week as well. So you were sharing the communities in Sabah. Then I'm not sure coming up there are a lot of arrangements upcoming as well.
Yeah, there are a lot of things almost every week. Actually, I try to. Sometimes I wanted to decline some of these invitation, but I don't know I don't know how to say no, and because to me all these things actually opportunity for me to share in different platform, different forum. So sometimes it become quite very taxing on me as well. But I'll try to accommodate, and as long as I still have God still give me this energy. To me, this is opportunity. The opportunity to spread the word, to create a ripple effect. Share the knowledge, sharing the passion, and hopefully that will inspire more and more people to embark on this journey to become great, inspiring educators. This is for Malaysia, basically.
Okay, so any final questions from those of you who are watching? Please comment it down. We're gonna cut short for this Edu Summit EduChat series. So questions from Diana Moira. Agree. I wish more lecturers. My lecturers are like you, but I thank some of them for showing me on what not to do as an educator in the future. But I appreciate some who are great teachers as well. Yeah. So I
Yeah.
guess in a way, we don't lack of teachers. We lack teachers who captures our hearts, right? If we
Yeah.
use a way to say that.
I think every one of us have their own great teachers, inspiring teachers as the model. Me too. I have some of these great teachers, including my supervisor, my PhD supervisors, and these are inspiring teachers. If we look at now, as I mentioned earlier to Jay, they are very much teacher centered. They are not like doing also of this crazy thing, like what we are doing. They don't use much technology and so on, but they are great teachers and inspiring teachers because they are really a teacher at heart. They really touch our heart. They really show that they are genuinely caring, and they don't see colors, they don't see race. They just treat us, like, I mean, they are student and they really go all out to help us as a student. So that's why I have some great teachers from different race. My English teacher, my one of my lecturers during my first degree. I don't want to mention their name now, but they know who they are. But they are, not only Malay teachers, but they come from all different races because they treat me, genuinely as a student, and genuinely they want to help. So they are really teachers at heart. So that's why they become my great model, and I want to become like them. So I think all of us also have our own great inspiring teachers that we use as a model, our model.
Okay. So final few comments over here. Please don't think of retirement, Prof. The world needs you. See, with the technological advancement right now, I don't think Prof will even retire for the next many years to come. Am I right, Prof?
I think retire in terms of the normal service, but not retire in my mind. There's no such thing as retirement as what I'm doing now, but as a normal service in a compulsory government service. Well, we have to go through that phase, right?
Right. So I guess right now YouTube will be your new classroom as the digital classroom to come, right? For any
Yeah,
subject that
YouTube
you're
and other
passionate in.
platform as well. Can't wait, can't wait.
Right.
Only 2 more years to go.
Right. So Dalji, again, you're an avenger during pandemic in the education world. Wow. Okay.
Thank
Very
you,
high
Alvin.
regard.
Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. That's the same thing, the same thought that came to my mind when I first look into the works that you have been creating. So you have been very consistent in terms of delivering online contents and education contents, even from YouTube from the past 10 years. And we're talking about starting from the era of Macintosh, right, away all the way until 2020, right? So the communities that you have been building and all of the initiatives that you have been entrusting teachers and empowering them. So it's something very, very inspiring in a way that I hope more teachers and educators out there are aware of your work and how they can really benefit from all these contents that you're creating over there, right? So hence that is why we wanted to have you in for the EduChat series again to share on your platform to teachers out there. Yeah. So truly amazing and inspiring in a way, right? So for a few ones, just to be sincere, passionate, professional, right? And then we can always get Prof to do sharing sessions via webinar. Yeah, very true, Amma. Yeah, that's what we are doing right now as well, right? So inspiring Prof, may you be blessed always. Yeah. All right. So in final terms, Prof, any message to teachers out there? I guess right now teachers are starting to get back into school, right? So in terms of that, there was a speaker in the education summit that told us that she's afraid that it might go back to pre-COVID, where everything goes back to normal without the upgrade of technology and things like that. So and any words in terms of teachers that are right now going back into school, slowly going back to the new normal, as we say?
Well, I think that there's a great opportunity now. If we learn any lesson during this COVID-19 or during the lockdown, uh, if anything, it just tell us that there's so much that probably previously, prior to COVID, we don't really see how much capacity that we have as an educator that we have yet to unleash. So during this COVID-19 episode, during the lockdown, we know and we have seen how much can be done and how much we have yet to be done. So to me, when we go back, we can really take the lessons to our heart, and and do more with whatever skills, tools that we have learned to bring the best learning experience to our students. It's all about learning experience, how how we make our students feel something that they will remember. So my last remarks here to all the educators who are listening now and later, if you watch the recording, each one of us have great opportunity to create a so-called ripple effect. Each one of us can create our own ripple, but when we combine all the ripples together, it will create the bigger ripple, and that would means the big impact to the education. Just like throwing a stone to the water, to the calm water, it will create a ripple, and when more stones being thrown and more ripples, and then they will merge and create that big ripple. That's the impact that we can bring about to our education in Malaysia. So that's all, Jay. My final remark to all the audience here.
Okay. So as for all of those who will be watching next, we will be putting in all of Prof's links and also his channels on the comment. So definitely do check out Prof's works and also all of his platforms that are available out there. Okay. So thank you so much for all of your kind words and all of your kind comments.
Thank you.
Unfortunately, again, we would have to reluctantly end the session with Prof. Always been like the time always go by very fast, especially when chatting with Prof. Right? So, so Prof, we hope that upcoming we would be able to personally meet you and hope to be able to see more of your work, right? And as well as to experience one of your classroom learning from me myself as well and our team over here, right? Prof, currently you are in which state are you in currently?
Which state?
Yeah, the location that you are in currently.
USM Penang.
USM Penang. Okay.
Yeah, the USM in the main campus in the island.
All right. Okay. Yeah. All right. So I'll be sure if I have time, definitely I will go and visit you.
Yeah, come. Yeah, just let me know.
All right. So thank you so much, everyone, for coming here. So unfortunately, we have to end the session for today. Thank you so much for joining us, and we hope to see Prof in the near future. And yeah, be sure to tune in also on next week on the EduChat series, which we will have another very interesting speaker as well. They'll be sharing on this platform. Yeah.
All right.
So yeah, just to spill the beans a bit, he'll be the Cikgu Nazmi from the sharing session during the Education Summit. So another very passionate teacher at heart, bringing in Kidzania to rural schools in Lawa, Sarawak. So yeah.
Okay. I read that. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So thank you very much, Prof. So we're sending you off for now. All right.
Okay.
Thank you. See you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Okay, so there you go, Prof. Karim, another very amazing chatting session with him. Always a lot of insights and a lot of new discoveries from learning from his vast and long journey of education journey that he has, right? So I'm sure those of you are tuning in has thoroughly enjoyed Prof's session. Wow, it has been 2 hours and 15 minutes on the session. So yeah, so if any of you would have any speakers or educators that you would really like to see us having a sort of like a chat series like this, right? To understand more of their learning approach, their passion, what they stand for in education, please do let us know on this as well, right? And also just to add on as well, EduChat series, we try to have it on a weekly basis to speak with passionate educators, exemplary educators to share with us on all of these interesting stories that they have during their entire education journey. All right. So finally, I also mentioned just now that another education summit is brewing and is coming on the way. So do stay tuned on that as well. We will be revealing to you what is going to about, how you can be participating in this for the very near future. We'll be revealing on that as well. Okay. So thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in today. And we hope to see you on the next EduChat series. So if you love what you have seen over here, please do share this video out to your Facebook, Instagram. We have it on YouTube as well. Share it to as many teachers out there so that they may be able to get what you have actually gotten from today as well. All right. So thank you so much, everyone. So signing off. Jay Wong here, and I hope that all of you educators and parents out there have benefited from the session for today. All right. I wish you a very awesome Saturday and have a great weekend ahead. Thank you very much.